Dinner rush at a famous European restaurant downtown where warm golden light mingled with the clinking of glasses and the smell of butter sizzling in hot pans. A young black waitress quietly set a dish down at table 7. Her black uniform dress was creased at the hem from stooping to pick up a fallen napkin. Her hair was neatly tied back, her young sun-tanned face beaded with sweat at the temples. Her name was Maya Thompson, 22, a server who had only been working here for 2 months. On her chest, the tiny metal name tag seemed designed to make people forget the color of her skin. Table 7 was occupied by a group of white diners dressed as if they had just stepped off the cover of an autumn fashion magazine. Italian suits, French silk gowns, expensive perfumes, and smiles laced with arrogance. They accepted the dish from Maya, and just seconds later, one man in his 40s twisted his face as if he'd caught a whiff of something rotten. "This is not what we ordered," he barked, his voice cracking across the room like a whip. Maya froze. Her eyes widened. She glanced down at the dish, then back at the diners. Her chest tightened. At once, hurried footsteps echoed from the reception desk. Richard Garland, the shift manager, appeared. A white man in his mid-40s, hair slicked back, shirt crisp without a crease, a red tie blazing like the throat of someone who shouted too often. Richard's eyes were those of a hawk. Whenever they fell on someone, that person was torn apart by contempt. He barked loudly, oblivious to the diners watching. "You mixed up the order? My God, haven't you learned how to read the menu yet?" The restaurant went still for a moment, the usual elegance now tainted with shame. Maya stood frozen, her hands trembling slightly, her eyes drifting. "This table changed their order. No one told that thick head of yours?" Richard snapped again. "All the trouble falls on me as manager. This is unacceptable." A ripple of mocking laughter rose from table 7. A middle-aged man, belly protruding, his face greasy with moisturizer, sneered, "Can't even read a menu. Who hires uneducated black girls here? What is this, a charity shelter?" Maya didn't move. She didn't cry, didn't argue. But something cracked in her wide eyes. The little name tag on her chest now glinted like a wound. The truth was, Maya couldn't read. The letters on the menu always swam before her like black squiggles fleeing from a flashlight. Words, to her, were a maze with no exit. Wait a second. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us. Richard gave her no chance to explain. He latched onto the excuse with relish, feeding his fury. "A black illiterate. You promised me you'd try to learn, and this is what I get? Ruining dinner for VIP guests? You should be fired." Maya pressed her lips tight, offering no defense. Her feet felt nailed to the white-tiled floor, the sounds around her fading. She knew one mistake, even if caused by a last-minute change no one told her about, was enough to strip away the fragile job she clung to with every ounce of strength. She had no diploma, no chance to study further because of her dyslexia, but she had never given up. She had washed dishes in fast food joints, scrubbed hospital floors, cleaned shopping malls, anything to survive, anything to keep her younger sister in school. But tonight, a last-minute menu change had been her undoing. She'd served from memory, as always. And now that memory had betrayed her, Maya bowed her head. Her voice cracked as it broke through Richard's tirade. "I can't read, but I've never gotten an order wrong. I remember them all." Her words fell into the suffocating silence like a stone. Then another burst of laughter broke out. A young woman sipped her red wine, smirking. "What is this? A fairy tale?" Another diner muttered, "She's just making excuses to escape punishment." Richard stared at Maya, as if she had just insulted the entire human race. His voice was steel cold. "That's it. Pack your things, go to HR, and collect your termination notice." But Maya did not give up. She spoke again, louder this time, her voice like a candle in a storm, trembling yet refusing to be extinguished. "I can't read. I have dyslexia, but I've never gotten an order wrong. I truly remember every single thing I've ever heard and felt." That moment should have made someone listen. Instead, laughter burst from table 7, striking her heart like stones. The world really has strange tricks now. "Can't read but still works in fine dining," a woman sneered. sipping her wine as if drinking down her pride in being white. Several people shook their heads, not with pity but with contempt, like nobles scowling at a child who had just broken a crystal glass at a royal banquet. Manager Richard, his face red from anger and humiliation at being disgraced in front of VIP guests, snapped, each word hammered into the air. "Now, pack up your things, go to HR for your termination notice. No more nonsense." No eyes of sympathy, no hands reaching out. Suddenly, the stainless steel tray in Maya's grip felt 10 times heavier. She couldn't even remember how she turned to walk away, only that her feet dragged like drifting through a nightmare she couldn't wake from. In a hidden corner, behind a wooden partition meant as a break spot for staff, sat Zola, a 9-year-old girl with neatly braided hair, worn-out sneakers, and eyes bright as the morning star. She clutched an old children's picture book, its spine frayed. Zola was used to sitting silently for hours, waiting for her sister to finish work. She never complained. All she wanted was that moment when Maya opened the break room door, smiled, and said, "Let's go home." Then her whole day felt complete. They had no one else. Their mother, Janine Thompson, had died of chronic kidney failure when Zola was 6. Their father, a name no one spoke anymore, had left long before Zola could talk. From then on, Maya carried everything. No degree, no family support, no safety net, just herself and the little sister who had not yet grown. Dyslexia, an invisible enemy, had chased Maya out of middle school after endless taunts of airhead, goldfish brain, stupid black girl. Letters on a page swarmed and danced before her, making her feel deaf in an orchestra. She had tried to relearn, had cried when she couldn't tell P from Q, had left red ink scars across her notebooks as proof of her failures. But Maya never surrendered. She had worked since she was 15, washing dishes in noodle shops, scrubbing supermarket floors. At night she changed her mother's dressings, washed blood-stained cloths, then hurried back to night shifts just to afford medicine for her mother and notebooks for Zola. When their mother died, Maya didn't cry. She simply held Zola close and whispered, "I'll be both mother and father to you." From then on, every night before bed, Zola read aloud to her sister from her school textbooks, from restaurant menus, even from lists of VIP customer notes. And Maya, strangely, only needed to hear something once. That was enough. She carried sounds, smells, and voices in her memory as if engraved. When someone who cannot read listens with their heart, they never forget. That extraordinary memory had kept Maya from making a single mistake in 2 months at the restaurant. She remembered every diner, every dish, every request, even tiny ones like less pepper than usual or a bit of lemon zest in the sauce. But today, everything crumbled. At table 7, an order had been switched at the last moment. A VIP guest had changed dishes right before service, but no one told Maya. The chef didn't say a word, and now she bore the full blame. Maya stepped into the break room, hollow inside. Her hand brushed her old satchel, stuffed with wrinkled scraps of paper Zola had once drawn. "Maya is the best. Big sis, don't give up." She bit her lip, trying to keep tears back, but her eyes still stung. "I'm sorry." "Maya." Zola's small voice trembled. She didn't know all the details, but she knew enough. Her sister was about to lose her job. "It's not your fault." Maya stroked her sister's hair. "It's just I hate this feeling, like I'm useless, like people like me don't deserve to exist in places like this." Zola lifted her gaze. "But you weren't wrong. You've never been wrong." Maya smiled faintly, though her eyes revealed quiet despair. Never, until today. She had never felt her disorder weigh so heavily. Before, memory had saved her. Before, Zola had been her eyes. But tonight, one missed word, one change not spoken aloud, was enough to bring her whole world crashing down. She wondered, without her extraordinary memory, what would she be? A black girl, without a diploma, without skills, without family support, and unable to read. She had always thought herself strong. But being publicly shamed, called an illiterate black girl, made her feel like nothing more than a dirty rag kicked into a corner. Zola clutched her hand. "Maya, maybe you should tell them again." Maya shook her head. "No one will listen, Zo." She grabbed her bag and squeezed her sister's hand. but her step slowed. Not because she mourned the job, but because she mourned her faith. She had once believed that if she tried hard enough, she would be recognized. Tonight, she wasn't sure anymore. Tonight, dyslexia made her feel truly disposable. As Maya and Zola made their slow way toward the restaurant's front doors, Richard lunged forward, hand reaching to clamp down on Maya's elbow and drag her out. But a voice cut through the air, low, steady, sharp as a cold blade. Stop. Time seemed to freeze. Every head in the dining room turned toward the source. At a window table sat an elderly white man, hair silver as mountain mist, dressed in a tailored gray suit, tie neat, his eyes gleaming like cut quartz, seasoned, steady, unflinching. No one failed to recognize him, Walter Bennett, food industry magnate, founder of a nationwide chain of organic markets, a man whose name filled Forbes but who lived modestly, known for quietly funding scholarships for struggling students. Even Richard faltered, his grip suspended midair. "Mr. Bennett, this isn't something you need to involve yourself in." Walter lifted his teacup, took a measured sip, and set it down with a soft porcelain clink that echoed like a gavel in the strained silence. "She said she remembers everything." His voice was calm. Maya's eyes lifted. Her body trembled, but her gaze held steady. "Yes," she answered. "I remember everything." Walter inclined his head. "Then prove it." He leaned back slightly, arms folded, watching her not as a servant on trial, but as an artist about to step onto a stage. "Tell me, item number 18 on the lunch menu." Maya inhaled. Air from the vents brushed against her curls. Sweat slid into her palms, but her eyes didn't waver. "Number 18, seared duck breast with crisped skin, cranberry glaze, roasted beets on the side, topped with caramelized walnut crumble, usually chosen by women aged 35 to 50, especially health-conscious customers, who often order it with fresh celery juice." A murmur rippled through the room. Walter's lips twitched. "Number 9? French-style steamed cod, finished with garlic butter parsley sauce, served with olive oil mashed potatoes and arugula salad. Most common among middle-aged men, but in the past 2 weeks it's been ordered more often by younger women, especially on first dates." The whispers grew louder. Walter pressed his hands against the table. "And 3 days ago, what did I eat?" For a heartbeat, Maya closed her eyes. Smells, textures, voices replayed like a film. The char of the grill, the sting of mint in iced lemonade, the soft laugh when she set his plate down. "Veal marsala, no onions in the sauce. You skipped the bread basket, asked for mint lemonade with no sugar, extra ice. Afterward you tipped $50, twice the usual." A waiter standing nearby gasped audibly. The restaurant fell into complete stillness. Richard froze in place, a caricature of authority stripped bare. Walter exhaled, eyes narrowing with something like wonder. "How do you do this? You describe as though the menu isn't words on a page, but a screen alive in front of you." Maya turned slightly, gaze finding Zola still clutching her worn picture book. "My sister reads to me every night. Menus, textbooks, customer notes. I can't read, but I can listen. And I remember through taste, smell, color, sound. Each dish, each request. It's like a symphony. I only need to hear it once, and it plays in my head forever." Walter chuckled, not mockery, but the startled delight of a man who had stumbled upon a diamond buried in gravel. "So you can't see the words," he said softly, "but you feel them." Maya nodded. Walter studied her a long moment, as if staring at a secret hidden behind humility. Then his gaze shifted to Richard, whose face had drained of blood. "You were about to fire someone like this?" His voice, no longer calm, carried the weight of authority that didn't need to shout. Richard's mouth opened, but no sound came. Walter didn't wait. He rose, leaving his meal unfinished, and walked straight to Maya. He stopped half a meter away. "What's your name?" "Maya Thompson." He repeated it under his breath, like engraving something important into memory. "Maya, you should be standing in a very different place, much higher." His hand rested gently on her shoulder. "Thank you for not giving up, not even when the world tried to drown you." Maya stood rooted. like a sapling that had survived a storm. No one laughed anymore. Zola rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her sister, whispering through tears, "You're the best in the world. I mean it." Walter smiled faintly, returned to his table as though the curtain had fallen on one act. Yet he knew another had just begun, because Walter had been watching her for some time. He had eaten here before, noticing that Maya had never once made a mistake, not even on the smallest details. And when she said, "I remember everything," he didn't hear an excuse. He heard truth, and suddenly all those quiet, precise gestures of hers snapped into place. Her accuracy wasn't luck. It was genius built inside struggle. Time slipped by, and 3 years had passed since the night Maya Thompson, the black waitress humiliated in front of an entire restaurant for not being able to read, made the world stop and reconsider. With a full scholarship from the Food and Senses Foundation, established by Walter Bennett himself, Maya entered a renowned culinary research institute in Oregon. There, she didn't learn from thick textbooks she couldn't decipher, but through taste, smell, and touch, through a sensory language that no one else could imitate. While classmates pored over hundreds of pages, Maya only needed to attend a lecture once, breathe in the aromas, taste the samples, and lock them into memory as if they were scores in a symphony. Professors began calling her a living sensory archive. Neuroscientists, fascinated, classified her among the rare few with cross-sensory association, a condition where sounds, smells, colors, and emotions fused together into a single vivid map. But Maya didn't study to prove a point. She studied to survive, to build a future for her little sister. Every stipend, every grant, every tip from her culinary trials, she sent back home. Zola, now 12, was thriving in a good school with dorms, her voice lighting up the screen during nightly video calls. Each night she read to Maya schoolbooks, cookbooks, even customer reviews, and Maya, eyes closed, engraved every word into her heart. Then came Lyon, the culinary capital of the world. At an international chefs' conference, 2,000 people filled a glass-walled hall where screens cascaded light down like falling water. On stage, under soft ivory lights, the banner read, "Cuisine, no need to read, only to feel." Beside one of the world's Michelin-starred chefs stood a young black woman in a plain white blouse, hair neatly tied, eyes glowing with quiet fire. Not a model, not a star, just someone who had weathered storms and come out unbroken. The host's voice carried across the chamber. "Please welcome Maya Thompson, known as the woman who tastes without reading. She will serve as honorary tasting judge for the finals." A young chef approached, presenting a Japanese fusion salted egg custard with Caribbean ginger and dark soy reduction. Maya held no scorecard. She didn't need one. She inhaled. She cut a small piece. She tasted. Seconds passed. Then her voice, steady but luminous. "The first note is the Caribbean ginger, but the frying temperature of the batter was too low, so the aroma didn't release as it should. The dark soy reduction is too heavy. It smothers the lightness of the salted egg custard." She paused, then leaned forward. "But the aftertaste carries a creamy richness like cheese, but it isn't dairy. I believe the chef used fermented tofu." The young chef froze, stunned, then nodded. Gasp, applause. Camera zoomed in. Maya only smiled softly. Later, in a panel session, someone asked how she could read a dish without reading menus. Sitting tall, voice calm yet resonant, Maya answered, "I have dyslexia. Words have always been a labyrinth to me, but I learned to remember through senses, through my sister's voice reading aloud. I don't read the way others do, but I can feel every layer of a dish the way some people feel poetry with their whole heart." A journalist asked, "Do you see dyslexia as a weakness?" Maya smiled, gently. "It is a limitation, yes. But limitation doesn't mean impossibility. I can still live, work, love, and contribute in my own way. Not perfect, but worthy." The hall erupted in applause. That night, Maya stepped into the drizzle outside the conference hall. Zola's call lit her phone. "Can you hear me? Let me read you this dish. Cassoulet de Toulouse, white beans stewed with pork sausage and duck skin." Maya closed her eyes. Brown golden color. rich aroma. Duck skin a bit chewy, but when crisped right, it soaks up the fat beautifully. Zola giggled. Exactly. I read it in today's cookbook. It sounds amazing. One day I'll make it for you, Maya said softly. But tonight, keep reading to me. Zola hesitated, then whispered, Today my teacher asked us to write about the person we admire most. I wrote, my sister, because she doesn't need to read words to be extraordinary. Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks before she could stop them. She stood there, under the rain-slicked plaza lights, heart burning like an oven in winter. That year's largest poster for the conference showed her silhouette, eyes closed, savoring a dish, lips curved faintly upward. The caption read, You don't have to be like them to be gifted. Be like yourself. Message you. Not everyone is born with the gift of reading and writing, but everyone deserves the chance to be heard and believed. Maya, a black woman living with dyslexia, was once mocked, humiliated, and nearly stripped of the only job that kept her and her sister alive. Yet in the darkness of prejudice, her extraordinary memory and unyielding heart began to shine. It was her relentless perseverance, combined with the quiet love of her younger sister, that allowed Maya to write a life story without needing letters on a page, yet still filled with meaning. No flaw, no limitation makes a human being less valuable, and the world too must learn to look deeper, to be more patient, and to trust in what has not yet been seen. Maya was never just a waitress. She is living proof that true talent does not need words to be remembered.